Las Vegas's history didn't just begin when we became a city in 1905. You'll have to go back much further, 10,000 years in fact, to discover our roots. But we're going to make those discoveries easier today. That's because right this second, you'll know where it all began. Here, just minutes away from the concrete and bright lights of one of the world's most well-known cities, lies a spectacular cultural and historical treasure, the Las Vegas Springs Preserve. Did you see the water well derrick out your window as our train departed the station? It's symbolic of the reason this land has a rich history. Water. Water is the lifeblood of the desert, and abundant water once flowed here. For more than 10,000 years, water from right here at the Springs Preserve, including helped our city become what it is today. Can you still spot some of the tall cottonwoods? Look for our tallest trees as we travel along. Many of these cottonwoods were first introduced here around the 1850s, and some are 100 years old or more. Imagine this place as an eco-island, a patch of green among the browns and reds of the desert. Waters deep below the ground sustain the cottonwoods and life along the creek, cooling and nourishing the people and animals who stopped at its banks. Those spring waters stopped flowing to the surface in the 1960s, parching much of the landscape. But today, you'll see that landscape changing for the better.
You're traveling in comfort through about 110 acres of the preserve's 180-acre site. Things are a bit wilder here than the sidewalks and walls outside our borders, and that natural look is just the way we like it. You see, we're restoring this land to how it appeared before our valley was so developed. Wildlife thrives in this environment. In fact, more than 250 species of animals call the preserve home.
From under the ground, as springs bubbled up from the aquifer beneath, the water soaked the soil. Plants began. It's a good place to camp and track migrating animals that also came here for the abundant water.
Life was domestic too. Picture pottery shards from early home. We found evidence that these earliest inhabitants, as well as Native Americans who followed, built pit houses right here at the Springs Preserve. In fact, excavations have revealed the remains of an ancestral Puebloan pit house dating back from 670 to 870 AD. You can see the excavations by walking along the Springs Trail. It's not easy to stay cool in the desert, but pit houses were a smart solution against the heat. In fact, John C. Howell made a model of his 1870s dugout based on this principle. Trail was once called, well, not that day on record, or Journey of Death. That's why the discovery of the springs was so vital. Soon after the Las Vegas Springs first appeared on maps, they became a stopping point for traders, missionaries, farmers, and travelers heading west. Most of these travelers didn't stay long, though. That changed with a group of about 30 Mormon missionaries to town settlement in 1855. Just a few miles downstream from here, where pirates were living, the missionaries built what we now know as the Old Mormon Fort. Although they departed in 1857, more quickly than they intended, the Mormons left a legacy of irrigation improvements that were later adopted by ranchers.
Make a true go of the Mormon fort was Octavius Decatur gas. By the mid-1860s, gas was working to pump new life into the fort, hoping to create a traveler's way station that would be more lucrative than his failed mining career. He made improvements and secured water rights for the springs, just feeding out John C. Howell, still in his dugout here on the site. Howell then sold his ranching operation to Gas, who dubbed his larger property the Springs Ranch. No sooner had the smoke cleared from the shootout than a nearby rancher dispatched a rider with a rude note for Helen J.
Los Angeles and Salt Lake City. In 1905, the railroad was ready to roll. It advertised a land auction to start the new town, and thousands flocked here that May. Dreamers and speculators stood in the blazing sun and swirling dust for 2 full days, vying to pay cash for it.
The springs on this site were the city's main water sources for several more decades. Water delivery in the early 1900s was hardly high-tech. Redwood pipes, bound together by metal, were installed at the springs to move water downtown. As Las Vegas grew, water conservation, you can still see non-working remnants of these early technologies from the trail system.
But technology couldn't provide all the answers. Caretakers employed by the railroad lived here at the preserve to maintain water equipment and also performed the nastier job of keeping vandals out. At least one caretaker brought his
existing water systems, 2 water reservoirs sit south of our main entrance gates, while the Charleston Heights pump station near the Ohio State Museum up ahead continues to transport water into homes in the western valley. This pump station will become open as Waterworks in coming years, with interactive exhibits showing how we assure a steady water supply to our community each day. No doubt you've noticed work happening on the trails today. We have exciting additions planned for the Springs Preserve, funded in part